True. That's a truism. Okay, so in that little pause, micromanaging. Anyone?
Everyone?
Everybody? Yeah. Right. And so we did that opening meditation that was about kind of looking at an area of our life where there may be a challenge or an obstacle, right? Now, we're going to start opening the floor up to conversation. So it's the opportunity, like, is there an area of your life that you're willing to acknowledge that you're micromanaging that may not be going effectively, that you're ready to change?
Okay. Oh, well, I think one of the things that I have micromanaged myself into being single by not allowing even the idea of a man. It's like, no, I'm just going to live my life, and and I don't have my I'm not open to that. And at first, it was because I needed to recover from a relationship that ended. But I think that as time goes on, I'm still in that, where I'm like just saying, no man, no problem, and I think that I'm sort of beyond that, but I'm still living that way because I have micromanaged my life to not include, I don't have men friends anymore, especially once I retired. At work I had men friends, but as a retired person out in the world, I don't have men friends. And because even in my community groups social groups that I'm in, I stick with the women. And so I think I've eliminated that as a possibility, which means that when I am ready, I sort of don't know how. I don't know what I'm putting out there or what I'm doing. I feel like I'm closed down.
Thank you. There's a solution. I'm excited. Ms. Patty?
So I shared this with Rachel yesterday. The other day, so I started going to the gym. No, let's put it another way. I signed up for the gym, and I've always been totally intimidated, and by gyms because I'll get to that. But I have wanted to go, and so I've been doing some other work, and I thought I have nothing to work on. I have arrived. I have no issues in life. And then I joined the JCC, and as I'm walking through the gym with my friend, the words escape from my mouth. I don't want to look stupid. And it's like, oh my gosh, how many areas of my life don't I live because I don't want to look stupid? And so, I'm recognizing I'm willing to sit with the discomfort or, just being aware of that. And that phrase, just how it came out, I don't want to look stupid.
Yep. And the beauty, like you said, the awareness of that, what other areas, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that there's a pattern in life, right? Whether it's that whole comfort of I'm single, I'm in solitude, so I'm not putting my antenna up, right? I'm not going to hang my flag up and catch any attention in any area of my life. And so what do we do? Those navigational twists and turns that I take, knowingly or unknowingly, just to keep my flag down so nobody sees me, right? And I'm not embarrassed or don't feel stupid, right? In newness, right? And I love hearing the stories like they used to talk about the learning curve. The learning curve is inevitable, right? Just like a child. A baby learns to crawl and then walk. That's natural. Never see an adult person crawling, right? But we think that we're going to get stuck in some aspect of the learning curve, and that's what impedes us from even taking the step forward and toward our transformation, right? And the potential of what is going to be learned for yourself. and how you are.
May I say just one more thing?
Absolutely.
One of the other things that I have realized is I am willing to have people not like me. You know, that's the underlying thing. It's the thing you were talking about, being accepted. And the people that I find that I have the hardest time of being willing to have them not like me are people who I feel closest to.
Yes.
That's all.
Thank you. No,
Don't
you have to
talk
push yourself
about
up.
me
You know, it's
more.
good. You're so cute. No, I'm opening my heart up too much, folks. Yeah. I'm too vulnerable. Lock it down. Yes. And did you want to share it all? Are you comfortable? You
Well,
can.
I think that I find myself in a lot of that situation where I have to have some kind of an emotional, I prefer to call it support than hostage, but I can see how they can be hostages and there's a potential that I'm going to be driving cross country, and that fear is very real.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm getting pushback, and people are like, well, just do it. And I'm thinking, well, why can't I just do it? And so it's a lot easier to just say, Josie, come here, hold my dog,
Right.
and be safe.
And to be open to the possibility there's going to be another route for you, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing. And so emotional support is a different term than emotional hostage. And the only reason I say hostage is a lot of people didn't know that that's why they were coming with me.
Well,
I had not learned the strength of asking for help, right? So, right. So it's the ability to be vulnerable and real, right? Like I've done my work and I'm comfortable about the travel. Would you be willing? Rather than, hey, you want to go somewhere? I'll spend money on you too, because I can't do it alone, right? So it's like that whole bartering piece. Yeah, that was a good barter. But the ability to recognize that in that process, you're going to learn more about you. You're going to learn about how to self-care. What remedies can you take along the way? What rituals can you have in place? Before, right, we plan for good. That's the goal. Sometimes we have to get to that 0 point first, but we've got to plan for the good. We don't just go, I always think of it when some of you remember the Taco Bell, I think it was a Taco Bell ad, where everybody's in the suit at work. They're like, same place, same thing. And they're all getting on the elevator and they're going to the same restaurant to eat the same thing every day. And same place, same thing. That's what we do in our lives, right? We begin to do the same place, the same thing, and those we call our habits, right? Our rituals, our daily rituals. So the world, I love this quote. This is Emma Curtis Hopkins. Emma Curtis Hopkins was a fundamentalist, a metaphysician, turn of the century, 1800s to 1900s, who I leaned on heavily when I was overcoming anxiety. She developed the practice, you want to change your mind, stop. Do you know how many times I did it on the road when I was driving? People not driving next to me were probably like, what the hell is that girl doing? I would clap and stop and change the energy. Because the minute that clap and that stop is said, I change my frequency, okay? So she talks about the world will persist in exhibiting before you what you persist in affirming what the world is. It's undeniable. The world only mirrors to me exactly where I'm at. Again, that's that dismissal. We've got to dissolve the idea of coincidence. It's a mistake. Is there really a plan? Well, there's a plan. And I'm the maker of that plan. I'm the maker of my misery, or I'm the maker of my peace. When I realized that early in my spiritual studies, it was very humbling, right? It's that moment to go, oh my gosh, I've created all the financial discord. I've created all of the discord in my body, my mind, my life. And I think that was part of the depression part of my life, right? The not knowing the new tools to evade or to get out of that way of living and that way of thinking and seeing the world. But in that embracing of understanding that I am the maker, I am the creator. So if I create, put that thought on for a moment. If I can create when I don't like, can I create something I love? Can I recreate and find the new frequency, the new energetic pattern that mimics the world that I want to see. Not the world I don't want to see, but the world I'm ready to see. Mm-hmm. Surrender. Life brings us always to a surrender, right? That ultimate uncle, the one that we resist, the one that we say, I'll never go down, I got this, let me figure it out, let me put a little duct tape, let me put a little sticky, a finger in the hole, let me figure this thing out. But until I become willing to surrender to all of it, right? Whether it's a throw my hands up, whether it's a hit my knees, whether it's just that call to a friend, I'm at my end. This can no longer go on in the direction that it's going. That's when I become available. The hole gets poked in the veil, and I become available to see like I've not seen before. But it only happens through surrender. Because that surrender is now the invitation for the divine to move into my life, to enter into my world and create the transformation that is waiting. Do we do it part and parcel? Yes. I wish I could say it was a totality, or, it's like those makeover shows, where you go in and they do your hair, they do your fat loss, they do your liposuction, bada boom, bada bing, 1 week, you got a new world. That's not the way this flows, unfortunately, but fortunately, because the process is the process. But again, it's the ability to recognize what brings us to our knees, right? For me, it was definitely an inner dissonance. It was depression. It was several losses that I recognized I had not processed yet. Hadn't dealt with some deaths in my life that I thought I had just moved beyond, but I couldn't stare at the door, waiting to see if they were coming home, right? Mystical experiences. I believe that many of my initial mystical experiences were absolutely about me waking up to what I could be. Glimpses of light. And in those mystical moments with the divine, call it divine discontent, if you will, I found a level of hope. I found a level of what can I do and how busy can I be about it, right? Like I talked about. When I first found the spiritual studies, I was actually gifted my very first Science of Mind course. A woman who knew me in choir said, you've got to take these classes. And I was like, I'm not taking classes. No. First round classes were on her. Once I started, it's like the gates were just opened, and I could not get enough of God. In all tradition and all faith, because it all makes sense and it all has meaning. And it doesn't matter what, I always say to people, it doesn't matter what boat you're in, pick a boat and row, right? Mm-hmm. Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker used to say, it doesn't matter if you know what your life purpose is, pick something and move towards it. Because what will happen is, over time, you will realize through that process of creation or co-creation and becoming acutely aware of what universe is whispering to you, you'll be redirected in a way that has meaning for you or real value to you. You'll be able to repurpose it. So again, just to wrap this part up, relationships, illness, depression, finance, what brings you to your knees? Really, it's the perception of separation. It's the belief that I'm not connected to God. It's the belief that I can't trust that intuition that's moving me towards something that I really, really want, and that I can really, really have it. And that I can trust that gut and trust the creative process that may take me a variable of paths, but will ultimately lead me where I want to go. Because the detox process is real, right? Are you willing to experience the wholeness of the divine as you? That's the great question, right? Am I really willing, what Patty just said about the whole, am I willing to be uncomfortable or not focus on what other people think of me in the process of becoming what I'm supposed to be? And that's that statement, we will find our tribe, right? Or our tribe finds us. It's like the more the path gets narrow, like the friendships that I thought were so valuable or important to me, they're just kind of less important. Doesn't mean they don't have value, but they're not my primary focus, right? My primary focus relationships are the ones where they have depth and weight, and I can be me, right? In truth, and whatever that looks like in the moment. So David Hawkins, anybody familiar with David Hawkins' work? Okay, so David Hawkins refers to, and this is what I was talking about a bit earlier, about frequency. If we know that we're just this big body of light, We are frequency that's ever changing based on conditions, based on what I let in and what I let out. My frequency changes, okay? The frequency of conscious awareness, heightened conscious awareness, is much, of course, higher than those of fear, shame, doubt, guilt, worry. Enlightened beings are 700 plus, okay? Just the mere willingness to move beyond that fear, to move beyond the guilt or the shame or whatever it is, to step into courage is an automatic voltage change. It's like the frequency naturally change. Here's the beauty of this. What I love most about this is that if I think about life as mirroring to me where I am in consciousness, which means I'm always going to repeat the pattern because I keep doing that same place, same thing, same relationship, same food, same exercise patterns, whatever it is, the similarity, because it's comfortable. Nothing wrong with that, but it's very comfortable, familiar. Once I become willing to make that shift, I'm elevated in consciousness, which means I must become available for new information. New relationships, supportive relationships at that level, supportive relationships at that frequency, supportive nutrition, supportive movement, supportive practice, ritual. It's like I continue to up-level my life and allow those things to be revealed, realized as me, in me, that are best for me. Yes, I will look for the outer world to find what works for me, but I must partake in what is shown to me to see if it's my frequency. But the beauty is that once I do that up level, it doesn't mean we're not going to drop into fear. It doesn't mean we're not going to have that. But what I have found, and I find so powerful, again, if I understand that I am the maker of everything that I see, I can change the station. I know what remedies bring me back to a higher frequency. Much quickly. Much more quickly. Faster. So in that ability to recognize that I can learn what allows me and fuels me to that next level of consciousness. And again, there's no there. So it's just the next floor, folks, right? It's the next, and I'm on floor 2, right? And if we think about that in Ayurvedic medicine or Ayurvedic tradition, you know, our chakra system, right? So some of us just really have to start a foundation. We have everything we need. We're not in survival mode, right? And then we can go up, now that I've got that covered, I can start creating the life that I want. So if we think of life as those functional, foundational, and there's no mistake this doesn't go along with the chakra colors, right? That as I raise my frequency, I feel more open, available, and in harmony with what I'm here to do. Connected to the divine. And in Principles of Financial Freedom, they have what they call the kingdoms of consciousness. The kingdoms of consciousness were about, and I'll probably have it tucked somewhere, but the map of consciousness and our growth and our evolution. So this is going to be the visual. I will include it because it's a good one. So the lower quadrant of frequency is the fact that we are usually in victim consciousness, right? So things are happening to me. And when things are happening to me, I don't feel powerful, right? I'm just dealing with what's happening to me. Well, the good news is eventually some of us get tired of being victim. So we deconstruct our part and we move to Kingdom 2 consciousness, which is just right above Kingdom 1. Now, in that evolution of consciousness, we say, I'm not doing victim anymore. I'm going to become the doer of my life. I'm going to become the active participant that says, this will never happen to me again. Okay? Although it's more effective and less energetically draining, that about the same. But it's that ability to say, something's not happening to me, so I'm going to do something about it, right? What will eventually happen though there, because I'm still not awake to the fact that there's a power in me, I'm not plugged in yet to that outlet of God, I get tired, right? How many of us do, and we end up exhausted, right? And we think, gosh, I'm not accomplishing much. I'm definitely not accomplishing what I'm here to do, because now I'm in protective mode of being the doer, of making things happen in my world. Well, eventually those muscles get tired and the energy gets tired. And so what happens, guess what? Another surrender. That beautiful surrender, the next surrender is now, you know what, I think I'm just gonna listen a little bit more. I think I'm gonna allow God to guide my steps, guide my actions, right? And in that surrender and in that availability, my life transforms again, right? I break down the old cart, I'm in a new cart, I'm or a new kingdom of consciousness, and now I'm beginning to see that I can really kind of co-create with God. I can listen to intuition and I can take an action. I can listen to intuition and I can take an action. Then of course there's the optimal consciousness, which we call the Atman, right? That fourth quadrant of consciousness, which is the I am. I am merely that 11-step prayer that says, I am merely the vehicle through which this good flows, right? They're the ones that can manifest instantaneously. They know that they can transcend all illness. They have the capacity to be dialed in at such a frequency. And I'm not going to say, we all know Jesus got upset, right? I'm sure everybody had their disappointments. Every teacher, every philosophy, every foundational mentor or whatever is human, right? So we all have those trials and tribulations. But again, it's how quickly can I come back to, not me, it's not mine. What can I take from this? And how do I bring myself back to truth? Which is spiritually perfect, right? Without nothing's a waste of time. Cancel. So here's the changing our frequency practices, right? Or the awareness of frequency. And those frequencies can be changed through thought, through action, most importantly, behavior, right? Because we have to walk. We have to walk it out into the world to allow it to become manifest. We must. Otherwise, we call it prayer without action is delusional, right? Or vision without action is delusional. So every day, in every way, I'm either moving toward the activation of my spiritual awakening or I'm moving away from. I'm either saying, yes, I'm ready, or guess what? Not today, not me, pick another house, right? And I do that just through a thought. I can do that through an action or an inaction, right? When I know the universe has me say, or invites me to go to the gym, or the universe invites me to fast, or the universe invites me to skip some coffee, or do something I don't want to do, that's usually the universe. Because I have to do something differently to get something different, right? Mm-hmm. Not the same place, not the same thing. So the rituals are what we think about, right? What we talk about. That's a huge one, right? Mm. Working with prayer clients, because that prayer time together is so sacred. We can set ourselves on the right course. We leave the phone thinking, yes, it's done. And then somebody says, has it manifested yet? And you're like, no, not yet. I don't know, maybe it's not mine. And we've just canceled the whole prayer out in that one dialogue of questioning, right? So, again, the rituals, what are my conversations about? What are my spiritual practices? Are they supportive to where I'm going, right? Have I found my new frequency, and am I emulating and doing the practices that will allow me to stay in that frequency? Great question. What would the new aspect of my life have me do as a spiritual practice, right? What does that look like? It may not even be in my point of purview, right? When I went to my practitioner and she said, by the way, you're going to do hypnosis, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to surrender to anybody in space. That's not happening. I mean, the first session was one eye open. Like, what's he doing over there? Just that lack of trust that I'm going to be doing something differently. Can I really trust this is going to manifest or to create a change? Who we associate with, again, getting group agreement. We call it group agreement. We also call it race consciousness. The collective. A lot of us like to fit in with the collective. Like, what is everybody voting for? And I'm going there because I don't want to stand alone in the fact that it's not true, or it's not my truth, or the truth, the principle. Exercise. Most importantly, recover. I don't care how much you exercise, is your recovery in place? I say to people, sometimes recovery as we age is more important than the exercise we do itself. What are we eating? How are we fueling our body? How are we fueling our brain? Is it matching the frequency or where you're going, right? Who you want to be around, who you want to be with, all those wonderful things. Work, play. How am I creatively expressing? How am I earning my financial income? Is it in alignment? Is it congruent with what my soul wants me to be doing? Whether it's being of service, whether it's creating something, whether it's being a part of a collaborative team, I don't care what it is, but is it something that is fueling you? So when you leave, you're like, all right, that was awesome. It doesn't mean it's not going to have challenges. It's a work and it's relationships, but at least you feel like you're in the right place, plugged in. Creative expression and play, they should really kind of go together. Creative expression, how am I creatively expressing what the universe has? Everybody has a song, everybody has a movement, everybody has a coloring, everybody has a doodling. I don't care what it is, but again, it's finding something that you can do without thinking, right? Hands in the soil, gardening, pets. But it's that ability to love and to be out of work mind trying to figure it all out. Entertainment, that's a big one. I love my action videos. So, it's true, I do. People are like, wow, you seem so spiritual. You watch that? I'm like, I do, and I love UFC too. But yeah, so it's like, what am I relaxing into, right, with that entertainment? And then sleep cycles. That's the other one that I must pay attention to for myself, especially. Not to say that you guys don't, but sleep cycles are really important. What is that restorative time that I'm giving to my body to process everything that I'm changing, that I'm calling into change in my life? One of my favorite quotes is, consciousness precedes form. Take that on. Consciousness precedes form. Many times I have a desire and I want to rush out and get it, rather than create the consciousness that would manifest it in a timely and consistent way. And so to evolve into the consciousness that would allow the thing that you're seeking, what work is entailed? I don't like that word, but it's real. What practices, right? What rituals? What things must I begin to embark upon or know about myself to allow something like that to be an experience? Transformative power of human conscious awareness to shape, deform, and reform the world is by Parker J. Palmer. So it's the ability to recognize that for me to continue to change form, I have to reform the way that I think and feel. I have to change all of it, right? It has to be reshaped, reconfigured to the matching elementals of that space and time. Divine operations for expansion and fuller expression, producing new conditions beyond our past experiences. Consciousness can lead us to limitless possibilities. Limitless, right? So that goes back to, when I didn't list, I mean, in Sufism, they talk about the 99 qualities of God, but it's really infinite. Infinite natures. You can't really, we talk about God in a finite way, but it's limitless. It is eternal. It is ever expanding, and it continues to expand. To have the perception that I understand it and I know it and I have it in this classified space is incorrect. So what I must recognize as, like I said, there's no there. I'm just keep going up on the levels of the elevator until my life experience is complete. And have I fulfilled what I'm here to do in that activation? Drawing onto my life experience everything that is potential and possible for me. And that's powerful. Can I really be there and that available? And that's Thomas Troward. Trusting one's inner voice, those gleams of light from within, is essential to true genius, right? So we can all have all the book knowledge we want. We can repeat it, verbal Bible verse, quote, know it, read it. Am I living it? Does it live through me? That's the activation. That's true genius, because it's going to become an individualized way that you move in the world. People will see you and feel you before you even speak a word, right? It's that ability to know truth as it exists. And that's true genius. The ability to discern, right? To discern about myself and to discern about others. And that allows us to classify. Who am I spending my time and energy with, right? All those wonderful things. And that was Ralph Waldo Emerson. So rituals to participate in as we begin this transformation, or even to just acknowledge where we are. What rituals do I have around the current lifestyle that aren't bringing me where I want to be? Most importantly is studying the new behavior. When I work with clients who are looking to get over a health challenge and there's something that we're not aware of, I say, look it up. Look for the people who've overcome your health challenge. Find the other side of the surgery. Find the people who have outgrown that belief system and what are they doing to live their life in their new way, right? We cannot stay here and get there. We must expand our awareness about potential and possibility through, yes, written wisdom, but then we become willing and a vehicle through that which that to flow. So practicing new frequency, and that's meditation a lot of times. Journaling helps me kind of clear the way, but meditation is the practice of, can I really dive deep into seeing and feeling where I'm headed? Can I really see and feel where I'm headed? Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard is a huge believer in imagination, the power of imagination, right? That third eye, can I really see it? And then once I'm dialed into the visual of what that looks like, you may not have a face for the relationship, you know, you may not have the passenger of your vehicle, you may not have, you know, well, you can on a machine, you can visualize that perfectly. But those imaginings bring about a frequency change internally. That's the power of meditation. Once I see it and I can feel it, I become about it. That's the match. Inventory, journaling. Where am I still offbeat, or where are my successes, right? Beginning of the day, plant some seeds. At the middle of the day, you need to check in. People know me. I love journaling. Journaling is huge. It's the best brain drain there is, right? How do I get myself out of the way to become available to what God wants me to do? Recognizing fear, doubt, and worry that impede my dedication to where I'm headed. Again, it's that distrust, right? And not really believing that it's potential or possible for me to have the fulfillment that I'm seeking. I take the power out of it many times if I share it with the wrong person. So who am I talking to about my vision, right? If I go to somebody who I know is not in a process of awakening as well, and I say, this is my big fish, and they go, that's a little fish, or that's a stupid fish. And you go, you know, you're right. That's a stupid fish, and that's a way too big fish. I don't need that big of fish. Mm-hmm. I immediately, again, do that 1 degree pivot away from the thing that my soul is seeking to desire, right? So I usually, for me, I have a prayer practitioner that I work with on a weekly basis that supports me in prayer. And I have that people that are safe tribe to me that I can share my vision or the newness that's happening for me, that I get, that's fantastic. What else? What else are you going to do, right? Not, oh my God, how are you going to get there, right? So, supportive conversation. Creating the space for newness. And this is that part of gathering aspects of self. Going back to that beautiful practice of shamanism. I must bring either, and I always think of that, I can't even, I shouldn't even use this quote in here, but I'm going to use it. The camel through the eye of the needle in the Bible, right? It's that idea that not everything can go with me into the newness, right? Because otherwise I'm just bringing old self. Here we go, new. I'm carrying all of that energy with me.
Lots of boxes.
Lots of boxes. Lots of schlepping. Lots of plants. Yes, so the ability to free myself from that and to be willing to create the space, and even in the uncomfortability of space, of not knowing what's next, but to sit in that 0 point for change, right? Coming back to that 0 point. Because what is realized in that letting go and creating space for the newness is all the areas of my life where incompletion exists. All of it. All of it will come forward. The story about the guy driving the station wagon where all of his life he's been throwing stuff in the back and he jams on the brake and all of a sudden everything comes forward, right? Everything that needs to be organized, right? True story. It's a truism, right? We can't avoid those areas of life that are left unaddressed. Nourishing the body for optimal health, right? And I talk about this one because this is a big one, and I battle is a strong word. I have resisted the need to let go of sugar for a long time in my life, but sugar is one of the greatest degenerative products we can put in our body, right? I'm not going to get into that in this class, but the need for us to be aware of what we're fueling our body with, and is it getting us where we want to go, right? If I'm seeing myself as this new person, is that person going to be doing the things and eating the things that I'm going to be eating today in this one meal, right? Is there something I can change, edit, or delete? Moving the body, strength and release, right? When we move the body, and we're going to get into some modality work in just a moment, but when I'm moving my body, I'm energetically shifting its consciousness. My body is in my frequency. So when I move it, whether it's through a body work like a massage, whether it's dancing, whether it's fitness, it doesn't matter. I am literally changing the frequency of my body. And so the importance of that on a frequent basis, right? Detoxing the mind and the body. Whether it's through fasting, whether it's avoiding TV, whether it's avoiding things that you don't think you can avoid, really taking it on like a spiritual discipline and allowing yourself to sit in the discomfort of not having something that you used to have, not having the thoughts that you used to think, right? Not allowing yourself the comfort foods that you always reach for when you get uncomfortable, right? It's really allowing yourself to sit and to detox and to create the space again through new practice. So man learns through experience and spiritual path that is full of difficulties and obstacles. These experiences encourage and complete the cleansing process, right? So when I sit with the discomfort, I'm naturally detoxing. I'm now shaking, rattling it out of my system so that I can become anew. Just like a flu, right? Gotta have the flu. Wash cycle has a tumble cycle, right? So all of those are so truisms, such truisms, if you will, that I must be willing to face those and embody those. To confront a person with his own shadow is to show him of his own light. Through that creating space, like I mentioned, and through that idea that I'm going to carry forward, or what's going to be illuminated or lit up for me is all the areas that I feel incomplete, or the places I want to avoid in self or deny are my experience. That's where the healing resides. I can't just cut those cords. I can maybe cut the emotion that it leads me or keeps me from it, but I want to eventually embrace that and recognize that those challenges, those dark moments, those moments that I have either shame, guilt, or fear about, those are all moments that are going to carry me forward and motivate me into my next phase of development. All of them. I must bring them to the light and recognize they're all part of the creative process. All of it is a part of the creative process. I cannot deny one aspect of my deed. Healing is never a straight path. It's a winding ride that takes you to unimaginable places. If we trust the process, we should add that. Unimaginable places, right? Because again, a lot of us want to have this construct of what it's going to look like from beginning to end, and we cut ourselves off from all of the unknown places that the universe wants us to go and to grow. So when you want to do a big thing, hello, forgot a T, get the mental pattern, make it perfect. Know just what it means. Enlarge your thought and keep it to yourself. Pass it over to the creative power back and behind all things. Wait and listen. And when the impression comes, follow it with assurance. Never listen to negative talk or pay attention to it. And you will succeed where all others fail. Right? All others fail. So this kind of encapsulates what we've talked about, and that's Ernest Holmes, also founder. So ancient wisdom speaks of a lot of rituals, sacred tradition, a lot of homeopathic remedy, tinctures, and then of course the transcendentalist movement swept in. Religion's been around, of course, back all of it. But those preceding rituals and those preceding tinctures and herbalists and things like that date back 5,000 years ago, right? Traditional religion swept across. Then we had transcendentalists. Transcendentalists were the New Thought, the Trowards, the Emersons, now I'm not going to be able to think of everybody's names. We've got Mary Eddie Baker. We've got some really great individuals who really believe we can reorganize the world and a culture in a way that means something differently. Through mind. Now, they didn't necessarily think of mind as a spiritual process, but they thought of it as thought, right? That if they could change, Einstein was great at it too, right? The ability to, how do I attune my antenna to get new information, new wisdom that can change the collective? That's transcendentalists. For me, it's been about not just the new thought. It's been about how do I go back to those ancient traditions and embody that and practice those that allow me to keep moving forward in the face of discomfort, in the face of wanting to turn away. What practices, what rituals, what traditions can I now bring into my life that maybe I feared because I didn't know what it meant, right? And embark and utilize it for greater health and wholeness. So Sumerians, Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans, Chinese also plant-based remedies, herbalists, like I said, 5,000 years ago. Native Americans, indigenous, plant-based along with spiritual practices. The San people, they use trance dances, so ecstatic dance is what came to mind when I wrote that down, right? So they used to use actually plants and, we talk about microdosing, right? Medicine and to experience a heightened level or a transcendental experience of what God could be. It opens them up to through a portal that allows them to have wisdom or insight that they wouldn't ordinarily have. And then the shaman, they also incorporated bodywork, and the Chinese bodywork manipulation to move the body into right formation, right? So eventually, of course, chiropractic work and all those other wonderful things. So remedies that are curative in nature. Soulful healing asks that while you're healing your body with herbs from the earth, that you look for the meaning of what's happening to your body as it relates to your whole being. Again, it's a reminder that as I am allowing myself to heal through this process, what is the meaning of everything that I've walked through? What meaning, what spiritual meaning and purpose can I give to it so that I can learn this lesson and finally break free from the pattern that continues to create that pattern, or I continue to repeat it, right? What is that lesson? So potentials for curative remedies, we have tinctures, homeopathy, and supplements. Some people take supplements on a regular basis, but there's beautiful practices with homeopathic that are literally designed for where you are in mind, as well as the tinctures. Tinctures you can really blend for a personal experience based on where you are energetically, and it helps reorganize you at the cellular level. Practitioners, everything from shaman to trauma release, EFT, EMDR. EFT is the emotional freedom technique. A lot of us know about that one. It's tapping, touching the meridian points in the body so that as you have that visceral experience with what you're feeling, you can reorganize it in the moment. They do it with trauma clients. They do it in EMDR as well. EMDR is eye movement. A woman developed that through a walking meditation one day. Recognize that when you have the thought, you have the emotion, and now how do I assimilate that and bring peace to my body? So they're all traditions that allow us to not, again, avoid or evade, but to embody and embrace and move it forward in a transformed energy. Because again, we're just energy. Bodywork, Reiki, touch therapy, Zhou-Rei. Zhou-Rei just literally clears your energetic body, right? And that's Karen, right? Mm-hmm. So the ability, again, just to, what am I open to experiencing? Do I want to feel lighter? Do I want to feel free? Do I want to feel different? And what am I willing to play in the field of? Emerson and Trudeau talked a lot about forest bathing. They talked about just walking in nature, because nature, they could really communicate and feel the presence of the divine in nature. And I know at Canyon Ranch, they do it as an experience, right? They take people out on these hikes and they let you kind of wander and you just kind of hang out in nature, right? Agoraphobia, not going to drive me out to nature and leave me. Not my thing. But I do love to hike, and I do embrace and embody planting and feeling God that way through nature. Yoga and meditation, right? The movement, the mindful movement, whether it's a Bikram yoga, whether it's a traditional flow yoga, it's the ability to be in the body, be in the breath, and feel the movement and connect to what my body is feeling as my energy field moves, right? So creating the ideal field or frequency through which improved conditions recognized are embodied and enjoyed. We always feel better after a massage, right? A pedicure. We find that the things that allow us to feel differently, the disciplines are just different sometimes, that allow us to move through and transition that energy into something more positive. This one is frequently forgotten, but one of the most important is forgiveness work, right? It's who must I forgive, usually beginning with self, for the simple nature that I am, the humanness that I am, and allowing myself to recognize that as I forgive myself, and I began really doing some forgiveness work, probably not until my 30s, on a deeper level, that I was visited by the energy of Kuan Yin and that ability to have compassion, right? When I can really ultimately see that all people are doing the best they can, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, and some people really just choose not to change. Not everybody is going to go along on the ride. Just because I'm excited about the change of frequency doesn't mean everybody's going to go along with the ride, right? So some people will be left. And the ability to forgive them and have compassion and empathy for them and love them right where they are and see them as whole, well, perfect, and complete. They're completely happy where they are. I was in the divine discontent. I was the one that was uncomfortable. I was the one that was encouraged to change. Some people are just really good. Some place, same thing, right? And to be okay with that and to let others off the hook. Again, creates more space. It lightens my load, right? Leads us always to the revelation. The revelation is the realization, the ability that I can understand who I am and that it all had meaning. It all has that beautiful purpose that encapsulates and allows me to feel like, I get it. I get it. The word comes from the Latin, I'm going to slaughter this because I'm a little tired, but revelatio, which means to unveil or to uncover, emphasizing the idea of bringing something hidden out into the open, out into the light, right? That's the revelation. The act or the process of revealing or disclosing something previously not known. I have to create the space to move into the availability for the unknown that God has for me. Have to. Must. That's a must. In theology, the disclosure of the divine truth or will by God to humans, either individually or collectively. This is what we are here to do, to reveal our wholeness in every area of our life, mind, body, spirit, emotion, finance. Pick it. Name it. Wherever there is struggle or strife, that is your call. Good news. We've all had the revelation. We've all had an area of our life where we've realized something new or unknown through intellect, through intuition. We've been able to manifest it, and we just simply forgot that pattern, or we're not remembering that pattern was an unseen pattern in its making. We just followed certain steps along the way that we were guided to take, and the revelation was had. So we're going to take a pause, and then we're going to have a little bit more conversation, and then we'll ask some more questions. Deal? All right.